Thank you very much for the floor. And I just want to double check that you can see my full screen slides. I hope I'm sharing what I've been meaning to be sharing, but I'm never sure with these applications.
It's okay.
So it's the right view. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon to you and your audience. I don't know who I'm speaking to, so I hope there are a lot of people I am joining today. And yes, I am Bogdan Dumitriu. I join you from the European Commission. I'm responsible for the so-called eDelivery building block in Digit. And thank you very much for your invitation to bring, let's say, the public policy perspective to your session. I will try to do so in about 10 minutes, and I leave it to you then to see if there is any time for questions or if you move to the next presenter. With this, I will move to my first slide. So I wanted to give you a bit of a perspective, of a historical perspective of where we come from and where we are going, not just where I'm speaking about the eDelivery building block, but about many other building blocks similar to it that are being currently maintained and further extended inside the European Commission. So the history there is that member states, various member states in different consortia, some including also the private sector, some not including the private sector, have been working in what was called large-scale pilots for around 6-7 years to try to pilot digital ecosystems, let's call them today like that, including in the area of health, but also in many other areas, such as the area of electronic justice, of e-invoicing, and many others. And at the end of this series of so-called large-scale pilots, they are called large-scale also because of the amount of money that was put together by the Commission and the member state in these pilots, which was upwards of 100 million euro. There were, of course, a number of common solutions that were developed in all of these pilots, and a certain subset of these solutions was selected as being relevant to essentially every sector, both in the public space and also in the private space. And that that they should be offered in a way that they are easily reusable. And this they were given the name of building blocks. Of course, this is not a trademark name. It's used in many other contexts for referring to many different things. But suffice to say that here, a number of building blocks developed in these pilots were then handed over, transferred to the European Commission for long-term sustainability. And this has happened so far through two consecutive 7-year programs. The first one is Connecting Europe Facility, which already is over in 2020. And now we are working under the Digital Europe program to continue providing these building blocks. And of course, as you will also see later on another slide, they are being used in a number of cross-border projects in Europe and also in some cases outside of Europe. What do we actually mean by the building blocks? It's generally, I mean, these are architectural components. They are never end-to-end systems. The meaning is that they are picked up and integrated in wider ecosystems, in wider architectures, in wider business approaches. But they are already there to resolve the basic concerns that everybody that is trying to develop a digital ecosystem is faced with. Be those concerns the exchange of data in a secure way, or identification of individuals, or digital signature, or many others. So the types of functions provided by these building blocks are generic. You will never see them providing specific health APIs or specific taxation APIs or specific transportation APIs. They are really at the level where they can be used in each and every sector. At the same time, this means that you will have to build business and sector specific layers on top of them, because they will not provide them out of the box. Then they would not really be able to be used cross sector. And an important feature is that they are created around sets of standards and specifications. And then in the background, of course, software products and services are being provided to help with their adoption and their use in practice. You can use building blocks also by picking up a commercial product which is conformant to those standards, reusing the sample software which is available for free from the building block itself, or even build your own components conformant to the specifications adopted and defined by the building block. In the case of eDelivery, which is where I'm involved more closely, of course, we are talking about the secure exchange of data and documents, and we come with a number of, let's say, important business characteristics. Of course, you are concerned mainly about interoperability, but there are a number of relevant ones. I would just refer to the vendor agnostic aspect, because we are building and promoting specifications, not software. It means that there are multiple implementations of those specifications, and each actor that wants to use the building block is able to select the implementation, the product, the software product, and or service which best fits their needs. In the background, we provide a conformance testing service to those vendors that wish to offer such products, so that they can get confirmation from us that indeed their implementations are conformant to the specifications. And not just the vendors, but also you as users of such products would benefit from being able to consult those conformance, let's say, assertions. I will not dwell too much on eDelivery, but directly move to a slide which shows a selection of projects that today are using eDelivery. Of course, you see the European Health Data Space, which is in the making. We've been working for 2 years with colleagues from DG Santé to promote and to make sure that the building blocks are adequately reused in the upcoming data spaces and in other types of digital ecosystems, among which, of course, the one most familiar to you, the European Health Data Space one. But if we move a bit away from the health domain, because this is a session on interoperability also in other domains, then you can see users from the taxation domain, from the customs domain, from the, let's say, regulatory domain, where when economic operators must submit different regulatory requirements towards the member states or the European Commission, in the justice domain, in the domain of e-invoicing, in the domain of transportation, and many others. Of course, we have users inside the European institutions, we have users in the member states, we have users in the private sector. I don't think, yes, it is also on my slide. It's the ENSO case where this is used by the transport system operators for gas to exchange various sensitive data in the area of gas transport. So as you can see, and as I mentioned in the beginning, the specter of use, of potential use, is not limited, because the specifications are really done in a way that they do not provide specific querying or APIs or approaches or definition of payloads or what have you, which are narrowed to one sector. This is left open, and I think I show this in a future slide to you as implementers to really fill in the part which is sector specific. And indeed, the slide you see here shows exactly this separation. So whatever is inside the blue circle, inside the blue rectangle, is what we try to cover, and whatever is outside, it is meant to be left flexible for use in different domains. So if you look at what we try to cover, we cover the message exchange model, the way you discover participants in a network, the way you ensure security, but we will not tell you whether to use the internet, to use a private network, and if a private network, which one. So this is completely open. The model works no matter the network. And more importantly, on the other side, if you look at the top, you see the payload and the data exchange agreements are equally not enforced. So this means if you tell us you want to send a picture or 20 pictures or a Word file or an Excel file or an XML file or a JSON file or a zip file or any other type of file you may want to send, or group of files, this is entirely up to you. We practically do not impose any restrictions. And if it's structured, unstructured, big, small, health specific or specific to another domain, it is really up to the domain. Similarly for the data exchange agreements. So when you send data, when you receive data, of course, there is a governance layer on top. There is a certain level of contract specificities, or there could be arrangements as to what has to be the sequence of sending the data, of receiving the data, of responding to a certain request or query. And all of these are, of course, as diverse as the businesses that adopt building blocks, so they are left for the business to define. So this means there is a basic infrastructure which we can support creating. We are not providing that infrastructure as a service. So I think this is also important to mention. We do not run, let's say, something like this, the 5G network where you buy a phone, you tap into the network and you can start speaking on the phone. Essentially, we are giving you the tools, the specifications, the services to build a specific network based on these specifications yourselves. Since, of course, many of us are involved in discussions about data spaces these days, it's important to highlight that eDelivery is equally fit to be used when building data spaces, exactly because it is very agnostic to the types of uses, the types of payload, and the types of actors that are connected through an eDelivery network. It means that if you have to have 20, 30, 40 types of exchanges, some of which may be in the area of patient data, some of which may be in the area of research, some of which may be in the area of specific policy making and so on. It is very rare that you find a standard which can provide tailored APIs and services for all or for such a heterogeneous set of users, which means that going with a standardized approach which allows for any type of payload, any type of data exchange agreement, makes eDelivery very good, let's say, fit for building a data space around, at least where we are speaking about the aspect of the data space having to do with data transfer. You are very familiar with the Health Data ITU, the so-called Health Data ITU, the new name for the European health data space. In discussions, we've seen this picture being drawn by our colleagues in DG Santé, so I'm just showing here, of course, as an example of the use, but maybe I directly skip to other ones because this is the one you are certainly much more familiar with than I am. So the next one I wanted to mention is the one that Thomas is also hinting at, the once only technical system. This has nothing to do with health. It's a system for connecting authentic data sources in the among the EU public administrations. And in this way, citizens that need to receive proof of their birth certificate, of their university diplomas, of their driver's license, and many other types of documents from a university, from a ministry, from a municipality, or what have you. Well, this data space that is being built inside the once only technical system is planning to allow administrations to request such documents from their counterparts in other member states. And all of this will be mediated, both the request for documents and the provision of documents by an eDelivery network that is being built for this once only technical system, which is also proven during the projectathons that Thomas, I think, and his colleagues are supporting. I think this is a very interesting use case, not just of eDelivery, but also of proving how you can build interoperability in a scalable way, because at some point you build a system, but then systems have to connect to one another. So it's not just the first year, the first good part of the scope. It's also very good to use standardized approaches to securing data, to identifying individuals and so on, because then they are going to allow adding use cases, adding business workflows much more easily. I think with this, I just go very quickly to mention that I have 2 slides that I will share with you via the organizers of this conference. If you are interested to see our full service offering, I don't think it's worth spending time on it right away. And equally, if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on Twitter, see our videos and so on, you have all of these links, which you can see in the shared slides or in the slides that we will share. With this, thank you very much for your attention, and depending on the setup, I am available for 1 or 2 questions.
Thank you very much, Bogdan.